A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of the ManageEngine team, I welcome you all to today's free OpManager training series. Before we could start the presentation, please comment in the chat channel if you're able to hear me properly and see the presentation. We'll start the presentation once we get few confirmations from our audience. Okay, we have started receiving few confirmation that the audio and presentation is clear. If you have any doubts during the session in the topics which we are discussing, you can always raise it in the chat channel. We have a team of panelists here who could answer all your questions. And at the end of the webinar, we would be having a short question and answer session where we'll be sharing few of the interesting questions for the better convenience and the advantage of larger audience. Let me introduce myself. I'm R. Surendran, one of the product experts from the ManageEngine team who takes care of support, product training, and implementation for OpManager. So what are the benefits of the OpManager training program? The first benefit is we would be having a deep understanding on how to design and configure our network monitoring solution. We would be able to get an in-depth knowledge about the product, sparing you from going through a large number of documentation to know basic information and to know in detail data and the knowledge about the product and the configuration steps. And later, the next best thing, you'll be able to get a personalized demo session since it's included in the live demonstration of the tool and its operations. And we would be able to have few examples on how OpManager is used throughout the world by various fields. And we'll be having examples and few live examples where we'll be discussing through the course of the webinar with the topics which we are going to discuss for the day. And now we're going to see the schedule for this season's of OpManager training series. Today, on April 6th, we'll be looking in detail about network discovery. Followed by, on April 13th, we would be discussing about network monitoring in OpManager. Followed by, on April 20th, we would be seeing in detail about alerts, reports, and network mapping. And finally, on April 27th, we will be seeing about add-ons and the integration options which are available in OpManager. For the better convenience of larger audience, we do have two schedules for the OpManager training series. One is conducted in the GMT time zone and the second is connected in the EST time zone, which is now. So now let's kickstart the part one of the OpManager training series on network discovery. The agenda for the webinar today. First, we'll be seeing the various different ways of adding and discovering the devices into OpManager, followed by agent monitoring, where we'll be seeing how to deploy the agents for real-time monitoring, followed by the interface discovery, the easiest way to get critical interfaces monitored in the precise and the desired matter, followed by virtualization discovery, where we'll be discussing the best way to monitor your virtual environment using OpManager. So now we are going to see the various discovery options which are available within OpManager. The first discovery option which is available is called as the automatic discovery. So as soon as you install the OpManager in your environment on a server, the product will immediately do an automatic scan using an nmap discovery and it will contact the visible subnet to that particular installed server. And using the nmap protocol, we would be able to discover the devices and we will automatically add them to the OpManager. And the second method of discovery which is available in OpManager is called as the manual discovery. By the name itself, you will be able to understand that here we will be able to add the devices or the entire range of IPs based on our requirements in the desired fashion. So now we are going to see in detail about the various methods which are available in the manual discovery method. Under the manual discovery, we do have a wide range of discovery options, starting with you can add the devices using an IP range, You can add them based on subnets. You can import the devices from your Active Directory. You can also import the devices based on a CSV file. And using the network discovery, you will have a wide range of discovery options, as we have seen, starting from IP range, subnets. You can import it from your Active Directory. You can import it from a CSV file as well. You'll have a fast addition of devices using this network discovery in OpManager. And you can schedule an automatic scan for the new devices which are entering into your environment, where it will save lots of time, where you need not come to the OpManager and manually add the devices. The product will automatically scan the entire subnet range or the IP range which you have configured for the discovery profile, and it will add the devices automatically. And then we also have the inventory and audit based reports to get details on when and what devices were added at what particular time, but by which user, which will give us an in-depth knowledge about what are the resources which we are managing and when it was added and how long has it been monitored in the network monitoring tool called as OpManager. When we use the network discovery option using an IP range or a subnet, we will have an approve and ignore mechanism, which gives us a much more flexibility of the devices which we actually want to monitor, instead of monitoring or adding each and every device which is available in the configured or selected IP range or subnet. And this helps us give a better way of approving devices whenever needed, even after an initial discovery. And you can ignore the devices from adding them in the future rediscovery or discovery options. For example, in your environment, you have lots of desktops or laptops which you don't want to monitor. So in those cases, you can add these laptops or desktops to the ignore list as soon as you see them on the screen based on the subnet or the IP range discovery. And in the future discoveries, these ignored devices will not be considered for the discovery option. And if you want to see how the actual discovery works with a live example, you can visit the YouTube link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. And now I'll also show you a quick way of adding a device. Let's take you've already done an IP range discovery and the devices are added, and there is a brand new device which you just want to add one device immediately. In those cases, you could easily use the add device slash server option to add a single device in a quick fashion. So now let me take you to the op manager directly and show you the various options which are available in terms of discovery within the product. So as soon as you enter the product, the first page, what you're going to see is the dashboard. So the dashboard is nothing but it's going to give you a pictorial representation of all the collected data and the devices which you have in your environment. And this helps us give a pictorial and a graphical representation of what's happening in your environment in a much clear and a detailed fashion. So when we talk about the discovery option, to discover any devices in your environment, the first foremost requirement is that you should configure the op manager with all the required credentials or protocols which is needed to monitor the devices. In op manager, as you can see, we support various protocols based on the device type which you are going to monitor or which you want to monitor using op manager. Here we can use SNMP, WMI, CLI, Telnet, or a VMware credential, Nutanix, and even IPMI. Based on each device model and the type of device which you want to monitor, we can use the compatible protocol for the same and use them for adding and monitoring the data from the devices. So before proceeding with the discovery, the first step is to have your credential library set up ready so that you can use these credentials and protocols for the discovery option and add the devices and get all the vital informations which are needed for you to monitor your environment. So when we talk about the manual discovery, as we have already discussed, we will have multiple types of discovery options within the op manager. Starting from IP range, you can have your subnet based discovery. You can import your devices using a sample. You can import the devices using a CSV file as well. And here under the discovery tab, you will be able to see discovery rule, which helps you add devices based on a specific condition. And we are going to see in detail about the discovery rule in the upcoming slides. And likewise, now we are going to take a live example and see how the network discovery can be performed for an IP range. For example, when we are going to do a network discovery for an IP range, all you have to do is you have to give a start and an end IP based on your requirement. If you want, you can also have multiple IP ranges and scan them accordingly. So here I'm going to select two different IP ranges for which I'm going to perform a scan and get all the devices in this particular list, and then make a call on what devices I want to monitor and take it forward from there. So give me one moment. I'm just filling in the details of the IP range which I want to monitor. And once that's done, you have to select the respective credential which are going to work for these devices. So I'm going to select my SNMP and WMI credentials along with my V3 credentials and the other required ones based on the device types which are going to fallen into the discovery module. So here give a name for this particular discovery module, and then hit on discover. So once you hit on discover, automatically you will be able to see a similar screen like this, which shows all the discovered devices in this particular IP range, and you'll get the total number of devices based on the type as well. So here I do have 211 devices in an unknown category because the credential might not be working or the devices is not going to respond. But these things are pretty much possible if you have a proper credential, and the type based categorizations will also be listed, which helps you in choosing the devices in a much easier fashion. So here I want to add and monitor few devices in this list. So I'm going to select the devices which I want to add, and then all I have to do is click on approve. So once I do that, these devices will be added to the op manager for the monitoring purpose. And likewise, I do have other few devices like laptops or desktops which I don't want to monitor, or I want to add them to the ignore list so that these don't disturb or go into a discovery process moving forward. In those cases, select those desired devices and click on ignore. So once you do that, automatically these devices will go into the ignore list and it will not be scanned, or it's not going to populate for the next discovery or the rediscovery process in the future. And now let's see the other options which are available under the discovery module. So here under the discovery, you also have the rediscovery option. This is for the automatic schedules which you're going to have. So for example, once you scan your subnets, let's say multiple IP ranges, and you want to do it every week or every month. So whenever a brand new device comes into your environment, the product is going to scan them every week or every month based on your configuration, and it's going to add those newly added devices automatically to the op manager, and it will start monitoring them. And likewise, in the unapproved device, you would be able to see the devices which you have ignored or which has not been approved during the discovery. So you've done a discovery for an entire IP range and you have approved, let's say, 10 devices, and there are still 90 devices which are left in that particular discovery process. So those devices will be listed under the unapproved device list. And likewise, the ignore device tab, by the name itself, we'll understand that the ignore devices will be listed over here. So these devices will not be considered for the next discovery or the rediscovery profile. So if you want to add these devices, you have to remove them from the ignore device list and then take it forward and add them to the op manager. And likewise, you have the discovery report, which is going to give you the detailed information of which profile, what time the device was added, whether the ad was successful or was it ignored. Every other information will be clearly visible under the discovery option. And likewise, under the discovery module or discovery option, you have various other modules and options which we are going to see in detail in the upcoming slides, as we have seen in the presentation slide. So if you want to add one device in a pretty quick manner, as it has been added to your environment, it's a critical one, and you don't want to wait for the automatic schedule to pick it up and add them in. So you can directly come to the discovery and just enter the IP address or the DNS name, choose the credential and click on add. the device would be added to the op manager and it'll start monitoring immediately. So this is how the manual discovery and the various options that are available, which helps you add the device to the op manager in a easier fashion and help you set up and start monitoring your environment in a much quicker and a precise manner. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about deploying agent-based monitoring, and this is a brand new feature which we have released in Op Manager where we will be able to monitor the Windows devices using an agent which is installed on the end device. And now we are going to see in detail about the features and options which are available for the agent-based monitoring and deploying these agents on the end devices. So these agents are pretty lightweight, which is less than 1 MB. With a single click of installation, you can simply install them and the product will automatically start monitoring the devices on which you're installing these agents. And it works on a secure connection and HTTPS with a valid certificate. So the connection will be in a much more secure fashion where there'll be no threads of vulnerabilities or a less secure connection which could cause any security threats or breaches in your environment. And it is easily installable from the op manager or from the AD on multiple devices. Let's say you want to deploy these agents on bulk. So in those cases, you can easily install them from the op manager by using a push option, or you can go to the Active Directory and push them using group policies or an Active Directory push to your entire environment where you want to monitor for a specific set of devices. And it can be achieved using the op manager and the agents along with it. And this agent, and the main concern for the system and network administrator is, if I'm going to install an agent on the end devices, how much CPU or resource it's going to consume. So this agent, the op manager's agent, is going to consume a minimal amount which is less than 1% of your entire CPU on your server, which is nothing compared to the other agents which are there in the live market, in the other network monitoring tools. And also, this agent monitoring helps you give the information and have a real-time monitoring of your Windows servers. And there is no need for any protocols or credentials because all the data and the information about the device is collected directly by the agent and it has been transferred to the off manager server directly. So there will be no requirement of enabling SNMP or opening ports for SNMP or giving a specific service account, a Windows credential, and then putting it into the op manager. So those kinds of hassles is not there with the op manager when you go ahead with the agent-based monitoring for the Windows servers. And likewise, this is applicable only for Windows servers as of now, and it stores the data for an hour even if the op manager is down. So for example, there is a server maintenance or some other reason because of which the op manager server itself is down, and in those scenarios, the monitoring of your devices is not going to stop. The agent is going to still monitor your devices and it's going to store the data for the next 1 hour. So even if the op manager comes back online after 30 minutes or after 45 minutes, the monitoring of the devices, your end devices in your environment is never going to stop. These data will be stored by the agent, and as soon as the product comes back online, it will be synchronized with the product, and you'll be able to see all the data, and you'll have no gaps or middle ages where you'll have a blind spot where the monitoring of your environment goes off. So you would be able to monitor your environment in a much clear and a detailed fashion 24/7. And now we are going to take you to the op manager directly, and I'll show you the various options which are available in terms of deploying the agents. So when we talk about deploying the agents, as we have seen, the first and foremost condition is that you have to enable HTTPS on the op manager with a valid certificate. And once you do that, you would be able to start using the agent-based monitoring. And here, when we talk about agent-based monitoring, you can directly download your the agent installation file and install it on your Windows machines. If you have a DMZ zone, you can download it and take it on a pen drive and install it on the end devices, or you can simply push the agents from the op manager server to the end device. You have to give the name of the device, provide a valid admin credential, and push it to them. And if you want to do it on a bulk fashion from your Active Directory, you can very well do them using the group policies. And we do have a detailed documentation on how to perform this on your Active Directory using various methods. So for that, you have to click on Learn More, this hyperlink, and this is going to give you all the detailed information with a pictorial representation on how you can push the agents on bulk to the end devices in a much easier and a precise manner. So now the next topic which we are going to see is about interface discovery. So the link-based monitoring and interface discovery for a network or a system administrator is pretty critical. Apart from the device-based discovery and monitoring, the next important thing what a network administrator would like to monitor is the interfaces or the links which are there in their environment with respect to the critical routers and switches which are there in their respective environments and their departments. And in for to suffice this need and have a better and an easier discovery option for the interfaces in your environment, OpManager gives you a dedicated space for the interface-based discovery with a simple process with defining criteria. And this interface discovery is pretty easy and straightforward. So, for example, let me take you to the product and show you the various options that are available in terms of discovering the interfaces. So when you want to monitor the interfaces, the first and foremost mandatory condition is that you need a valid SNMP credential. Let it be V1, V2, or V3. You need an SNMP to be enabled on the end device, and you have to configure that SNMP credential on the op manager to discover and monitor SNMP, monitor the interfaces. So this is one of the mandatory prerequisites to monitor the interfaces in your environment from network devices or servers. So if you want to monitor the interfaces and discover them, you need SNMP. So that's the basic thing. So when we talk about the interface-based discovery, as we have already discussed, all you have to do is you have to give the criteria. Instead of discovering everything in your environment, all the interfaces, you might have lakhs and lakhs of interfaces or millions of interfaces in your environment which are not critical for you. You want to monitor the umbilic interfaces or the critical router based interfaces. So in those scenarios, you can easily select the ones which you want. So here I'm going to give the device criteria. I want this to be coming only from my Cisco devices. And also in those Cisco devices, I don't want to monitor all my interfaces or links. I want to monitor a specific type. For example, if it has to be an Ethernet, and I also have another condition where I need the if index or the IP address for a specific condition. I'm going to take my if speed to be 1 Gbps. So if I give this condition, the op manager will discover the interfaces from a Cisco device which is an Ethernet type with an if speed of 1 Gbps. So this is how the op manager is going to scan the devices which are there in the op manager has already been discovered using the SNMP credential to get these selected interfaces based on the criteria which I am giving, and it will start monitoring. So as soon as you add a device and you start monitoring them, the device and the information is going to be visible as follows. So let me take an example and show you how it looks as soon as you start adding, as soon as you add a device and it has a valid credential. So I am going to show you a device here. So this is one of my local servers which is running on a particular machine, and it has its own devices. So as soon as you add a device with a respective credential, you're going to see this page. And if you have a valid SNMP credentials, you'll be able to see all the links, the speed, the bandwidth utilization, along with the active processors, installed softwares, and the monitors which are available. And we will be seeing about what are the metrics and the performance matrices which can be monitored in each device based on the type in our upcoming presentations and along with the following webinar sessions. So now we are going to go back to the presentation and continue. So the next topic which we are going to see is about virtualization discovery. So all our devices and most of our customers and our environments are virtual nowadays. So to monitor the virtual environment based on various different types from vCenter, VMware, or Nutanix, or Zen servers, UCS, you'll have multiple different virtual environments. Op Manager allows you to monitor your entire virtual environment irrespective of the type which you have in your organization or in your environment. So using the virtualization, you will have a dedicated discovery process for virtual network that supports VMware, Hyper-V, Zen, Nutanix, HCI infrastructures. And upon discovering the vCenter, other entities such as host and VMs will automatically be fetched and you'll be able to view them in a clear fashion. And this supports both vCenter and host-based discovery. So now let me take you to the Op Manager and show you how the discovery options which are available in terms of virtual discovery. So as you can see under the discovery module, you will be able to clearly see that we have the virtualization discovery modules separately available from them. So over here, if you have your vCenter, just enter the IP address or DNS of them, choose the respective credential, and then click on discover. So as soon as you click on discover, you will be able to see the host and the VMs which are available. You can select the desired ones and start monitoring them. And you could do the same for your Hyper-V, Zen, or even Nutanix environments and view the data accordingly. Likewise, in terms of discovering the devices, if you have your Nutanix and you want to directly add all your Nutanix clusters, you can easily do them. So as soon as you add your, let's say, vCenter or Nutanix or UCAs to the Op Manager, you'll be automatically be able to see a window like this, which is going to give you a detailed information about the hosts which are available and the virtual machines which are under these respective hosts and the data stores which are available under your virtual environment, which gives you a clear and a detailed information on how your virtual environment is happening and what are the matrices and devices which are available in a much detail and a clear fashion. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. So the next topic which we're going to see is about the storage-based discovery. So in our environment, we will have storage devices from various vendors, and Auth Manager allows you to monitor and discover these storage devices in a much easier and a clear fashion. Auth Manager supports RAID storage, tape library, FC switches from various vendors such as Dell, HP, Huawei, and other vendors as well. And for storage-based discovery and monitoring, we can use SNMP, CLI, SMI, and API credential to add and monitor them. When we talk about storage-based monitoring, storage monitoring is a separate add-on in Op Manager where the storage devices can be added and it's licensed based on number of disks which you want to manage in these storage devices. So when you want to add your storage device, all you need is that you want to know the type of the device that you want to add, choose the model accordingly, give the IP address, choose the credential, and test if the credential and the connection is working, and then automatically click OK. So once you do that, the Op Manager will be able to add the storage device and show you the information about the respective data of the added storage device which you have done. So as you can see, these are the basic information which you will be able to see once you add your storage device to the Op Manager with various with the respective credential. And as we have discussed, storage monitoring is a paid add-on in Op Manager where it's licensed based on number of disks which you want to manage. And also, I would like to inform you that if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please do raise it in the chat channel and our team of panelists will be answering them. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about Nutanix Discovery. So in terms of Nutanix Discovery and Nutanix environment, Op Manager gives you a discovery only for your cluster when all the entities such as host, VM, storages will automatically be discovered and you'll be able to view the required information. The Nutanix-based virtual map is also available, which helps you understand your environment in a pictorial format and gives a better visibility of your network resources and the actual status of them. And OpManager provides you with dedicated reports with summary, inventory, and latency, and etc. And if you want to know more about the Nutanix based discovery on how it works with a live example, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide, and you can know more. And for the Nutanix discovery and monitoring, we would be using the Prism API framework to fetch the performance metrics from your Nutanix environment of the virtual machines and the devices which are under your Nutanix cluster. So when we talk, as soon as you add your Nutanix device to the Op Manager, you will be able to see the Nutanix cluster with the various informations which are available under your device directly. So give me one moment. Let me show you directly on how the Nutanix cluster will be visible once you add them to the Op Manager. As soon as you add your Nutanix cluster to the Op Manager, as we saw for the vCenter, we will be able to see the number of hosts which are available under them, the virtual machines, the disk which are there, the storage containers, and all the basic information about your Nutanix cluster will be easily visible. And in terms of virtualization for Nutanix or your vCenter or Hyper-V, the Op Manager is going to scan these devices every 2 hours and get all the information. And for example, if there is any change in your environment with respect to the servers, let's say certain devices are removed, certain devices are added, because it's a virtual environment, changes are prolonged. So in those cases, Op Manager will automatically do these changes and update uh, the information about your environment, and it will start monitoring your real set of data and this infrastructure which you have, and which saves a lot of time for network and system administrators instead of updating in their environment and also in the network monitoring. So in the network monitoring tool, so App Manager helps you in all the scenarios to make your job much easier and easy for you. So configure the product with the required credential and the discovery options, and the product is going to do the rest of it for your requirement and conditions which you do. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. The next topic which we are going to see is about layer 2 discovery. So how layer 2 discovery is going to help, and what are the various options which are available under that. So when we talk about layer 2 discovery, it helps in discovering the entire network through the seed or core router. You can set device dependencies automatically. You can configure the schedule intervals to update these device info in your network automatically. And you can also export this information, this pictorial information, to a Microsoft Visio diagram as well. So now let's see how the layer 2 discovery works and how the diagram will be available as soon as you add the layer 2 discovery option to the product. So under the layer 2 discovery, as you can see on the screen, all you have to do is you have to give a name for the discovery, give an IP address of your core router or the seed router, give a scan schedule, how long it has to happen, and give the specific start and end IP range, or a specific IP range in which you want to scan the network. For example, you have a pretty huge environment and you don't want to see everything which is there in the environment. You want to see a specific set of people or a specific set of IP ranges which are more critical and vital devices. So in those scenarios, you can give the core router or the seed router's IP address and again only give the precise IP range so that the product will scan those, show the pictorial information, and if you want, you can add those devices in that diagram and start monitoring them. So as soon as you add a layer 2 discovery and you see within the op manager, you'll be able to see a similar diagram like this based on your infrastructure and the device and its connections. And here, if you want to add a specific device to monitoring, it's pretty simple. So you'll be able to see the devices are pretty much available. So all you have to do is just hover your mouse to the device which you want to add and then click on discover device. So the layer 2 discovery makes things even more simpler for you. So it's going to give you a pictorial representation of your environment in a clear fashion and its connections, and it also gives you a flexibility of choosing which devices which you want to add and monitor based on the importance of your environment and infrastructure. So as you can see, in certain environments, the core routers are the main switching routers and switches are much more critical than the end devices, which are like servers and laptops that are connected at the last of the network line. So in those scenarios, it will be easier for us when we see the network diagram and then make the decisions accordingly and start monitoring them to get precise information of what is more critical to us and our environment and our organization, and then take it forward accordingly. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And also, if you want to know on how to export this layer 2 map as a Visio diagram, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide and get more data. The next discovery option which we are going to see is about wireless LAN discovery or WLC discovery option, which is available in OpManager. So here we do have an exclusive support for wireless LAN controllers, which gives an in-depth visibility of your wireless and its associated services. Set identifies the SSIDs and the access points which are available in your wireless environment. So when we talk about the discovery options, it's pretty simple and straightforward. So under the discovery, you will be able to see the add wireless controller discovery option. Just enter the IP address or the DNS name of your wireless LAN controller. Choose the device model. We do support a wide range of wireless LAN controllers which are available starting from Cisco, Aruba, Huawei, and everything. And then choose the respective credential which will work for your wireless LAN controller. And once you click on add device, the op manager is going to automatically scan your WLC, the wireless LAN controller, and then show all the information about your wireless LAN controller with the total number of SSIDs, the access points which are under them, the rogue SSIDs, the clients which are connected to which SSID and what access point, what are their basic bandwidth utilization, and all the vital informations can be fetched pretty easily. And all you have to do is you don't want to add your access points manually or your rogue SSIDs one by one. Just add your wireless LAN controller with the admin credential. That's it. Everything else, the interdependent ones like SSIDs and the access points are automatically going to populate and show all the information about them, which makes job easier when we set up the op manager, and we can immediately deploy the op manager and add our devices based on our wireless LAN controller and start monitoring it. So this makes the life easier for the network and system administrators who want to monitor their environment in a detail and a much faster fashion. Now let's go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. The next topic which we are going to see is about Cisco Miraki, and this is a brand new feature which we have introduced in Op Manager, where we will be able to monitor our Cisco Miraki controllers and Cisco Miraki devices in your environment and get more data about them in a much clear and a detailed fashion. So here the Miraki based controller discovery works based on the API, and this differs, and you can monitor each organization, and the networks can be monitored in an easy and a much in-depth fashion. And when we talk about the Cisco Meraki controllers, you will be able to monitor the Cisco security, the Cisco radio, Cisco switches, Cisco cellular gateways, and also the Meraki vision as well. And here you will be able to get to know the rogue SSIDs, clients, and the access point usage in a much clearer and a detailed fashion. So now let me take you to the op manager and show you the discovery option which is available in terms of the Meraki devices. So all you have to do is you have to enter the API key from your Cisco Meraki or your Meraki device, and then click on discover. Once you click on discover, it's going to fetch the organizations and the respective details, and you can select the ones which you want to monitor, and then you could start monitoring them in a much easier and a clear fashion. So as soon as you add your Meraki controller to the op manager, you will be able to clearly see the exact information about your environment. So as you can see, this is my Meraki controller which I've added, and it shows all my devices which are under them, starting from my Meraki security, my Meraki switches, my Meraki visions, all the cellular gateways, and also the networks which are available under them, along with the rogue access points and the clients which are connected to my Meraki controller via various SSIDs or various access points in my environment. So this is how you can add the Cisco Meraki controller to the op manager and start monitoring them. And now we are going to see the next feature which is available in Op Manager, and this is a brand new feature which helps you add and monitor the intelligent platform management interface, which is other than called as IPMI. So this IPMI is an independent of a server's CPU and the power status. It monitors the system temperature, fan speed, power supply, voltages, and etc. And you can shut down and restart the servers pretty easily from the remote side using the Op Manager itself. And right now, Op Manager supports Dell iDRAC, HP ILO, and IBMMI in your environment. So now let's see how the discovery option works when we talk about IPMI monitors. So when you want to add an IPMI device to the Op Manager, so all you have to do is you have to select the type, the vendor, give the IP address, choose the credential, and add them. So as soon as you add your IPMI device to the Op Manager, automatically you will be able to see the list of devices and the detailed information about this IPMI device and get more information on how things are happening in their environment with respect to this ILO or iTrack device and get more information of what's happening in what particular time. And also you can set alarms and alerts based on the thresholds which you configure and take it forward from there. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about the groups which are available and the grouping options which are available in Op Manager. So Op Manager provides you grouping options for devices and interfaces based on sites, departments, and etc. You can push configurations to a group to set device downtime, configure a threshold for interfaces, fetch group-based reports, and more. And you can also have a threshold setting based on custom groups. If you want to know more about the grouping and how it works, you can visit the YouTube link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let me take you to the Op Manager and show you the various grouping options which are available inside Op Manager will helps you in different scenarios. Let's take an example here. I am a banking network and I have branch offices in various countries and states, and I want to monitor them based on individual countries or individual states in which my branch office is there. So in those scenarios, you can simply create a group. Let's say I'm going to create a branch to head office group where I'm going to add all my devices in my branch 3, which is in a different country. And here I could add the devices manually by selecting them and pushing them to the selected box, or you can give a criteria. Let's say it has to be of this particular type, or it should have an IP range starting with this particular value. Let's say it should start with 10.20.170, and if it starts with this, I want to add those devices because I know that my head office branch 3 devices are going to start with this particular IP, and I'll be able to add them. So as soon as you add your groups, you will be able to see detailed information about the devices which are available under the selected groups, along with the information of what's happening and how things are working. And also you can create groups based on the type which you want to monitor, or any category or grouping, whichever based on your requirement. Because if you want to do it on based on criteria, you can do it. If you don't want to do it on based on sites, departments, countries, you can do it. And also this grouping option is available for interfaces as well. So if you want to create link or interface based grouping, you can do them and start monitoring them. So once you have a group created, you can use this group to push thresholds for them, You can take reports based on them. You can have user-based access based on them. Then you can also use this grouping in the dashboards to see specific information. Let's say I want to see my CPU utilization for my branch office 3. You can do it. So you have multiple other advantages once you create the groups, and this helps us have a precise and the exact information which we want about a specific set of devices instead of a whole thing. So there are multiple cases where when we want to do an annual audit and I want to take an immediate info and see what's happening in my branch office 3 or what's happening in my third floor in all those devices. So in those cases, when we have a group created and we will be able to see what's happening in that group and the devices which are under them, which makes life easier and straightforward, and we'll be able to get what is required and monitor the critical information and have a much more secure and better view on the environment which we are monitoring. Let's go back to the presentation and continue. So now, to make your discovery smart, what are the options which are available in OpManager? So I'm going to take an example and show you how this can be done. So during the discovery process, you have something called as the discovery filter, which helps you add or ignore devices based on IP range, type, category, and etc. And this helps us to add a specific set of devices or ignore devices based on the type which you want. And it also saves you time and license cost for the devices which you want to monitor, and ignore the ones which is not needed or which is not critical for you to monitor. And as we have seen in the initial stages of the webinar during the discovery process, the discovery rule engine. So now we are going to see how we can use the discovery rule engine to make the discovery process much more easier and a smart way. So I'm going to take an example and explain it accordingly. So here I want to discover my Windows 2012 servers. It starts with an IP 192.168.1 and monitor the URL HTTPS network stats. And also, I have another condition where I want to associate a notification profile for device down and send an email to my administrator who's called as James. And the third option which I want to do is I want to associate these servers to a specific business view named as HO or my head office servers. And the fourth action which I want to do, or the performance which I want to do, is associate as Windows event log servers to all these servers. So I want all these four actions to be done during the discovery itself. So how can I do that? And this is the place where our discovery rule engine feature comes into play and helps us achieve everything in an easier fashion. So now let me take you to the product and show you how this works. So when we talk about the discovery rule engine, as you can see, all you have to do is you have to create a rule and then put the specific conditions for them. For example, if I want to create a rule and with all the conditions which I want, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is click on add rule, and once you do that, you can give a name, select the conditions, and then the action, and click on save. So I've already created a few of predefined discovery rules to match my example. So for example, here, I want to see if the IP starts with this particular IP address and it has to be a Windows 2012 R2. So that's my first condition. So in my any scans, if I find which matches these criteria, I want to do these actions. I want to associate it to an business view which is called as HO servers. I want to associate an event log rule called as ISA service, which has failed to start. And the next action which I want to do is I want to associate a notification profile and send emails to my administrator. So I can very well do that. And also I want to monitor the URL when this happens. So in those cases, I can say select, add a URL monitor, and then save it. So once you do that, the op manager will use this discovery rule engine during the discovery and do these tasks, and it saves lots of time. Instead of doing them after the discovery, it's going to do it during the discovery itself, which saves lots of time and makes the discovery much more smarter in a faster manner and makes things easy. And you can easily enable or disable these discovery rules by just toggling on and off these buttons and then take it forward from there. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. So now we are going to enter the question and answer session where I'll be sharing few of the interesting questions which we have received during the course of the webinar for the advantage of larger audience. The first question: what is the system requirement to install OpManager? So if you want to install OpManager in your environment, this is the basic a prerequisite or system requirement. The Op Manager can be installed on a physical or a virtual server. Op Manager supports both PG-SQL, which comes in bundle with the product, and the MS SQL. We need a minimum of 20 GB of hard disk and a 4 GB of RAM. Op Manager can be installed on both Linux and Windows servers. And if you want to know more about the system requirements of hardware and software requirements, you could visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So moving on to the next question. I am an evaluator and I need help in choosing the right edition which you have. So this is going to be one of the common questions. We want to choose the right edition based on our requirements. So in those cases, Op Manager provides you with the following editions which are available. The standard edition, which is the limited edition of Op Manager, where you can monitor the system time, the devices, and you have a basic login to the Op Manager. So the professional edition of the Op Manager is the in-depth detailed op manager version where you'll be able to do everything which we have discussed in the webinar today, where you can add devices irrespective of the type. You can have various logins with AD and local authentications. You can monitor different devices or irrespective of the type. And we also have a distributed edition of op manager which is called as enterprise edition, where you have a central and different probes where you can monitor your environment when you have a much larger organization. And if you want to know more about various other features that are available with respect to these editions, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. And also, Op Manager has another edition which is called as Op Manager MSP edition, which is similar to the MSP versions that are available in a live environment. And you can get more detail about the MSP edition, the professional edition, the standard edition, and the enterprise edition in the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. Moving on to the third question. Can an agent-based monitoring notify us when a server is rebooted? Yes, the agent is a real-time monitoring solution. As soon as you install it on your end devices, if it's rebooted, the agent will immediately notify that the server is going to go into a reboot. And as soon as the reboot happens, it will inform the op manager, and you will see an alarm informing you that the server has been rebooted. So this helps us understand if the reboot after a patching of our Windows devices was successful, or if there was any unplanned or unnecessary reboots which are happening for critical servers on which I do have my Exchange servers or my MS SQL which is running, which are pretty critical for my environment or the organization based on various requirements. Moving on to the fourth question. Can I re-add the ignored devices? Yes, you can. For that, the first step, what you have to do is you have to go to the settings discovery and remove the device from the ignore list. Once you do that, you can automatically add these devices to the op manager and start monitoring them. Moving on to the next question. What are the supported device models for storage monitoring? So here I'm going to show you the various different models which are supported in Op Manager in terms of storage devices. Here we support various vendors, and this help link gives you the detailed information about what are the models and the device types which are supported in Op Manager when we talk about storage based monitoring in the product. Moving on to the next question. Tell me more about the discovery settings. So under discovery in Op Manager, we have something called as discovery settings. So now let me take you to the product and show you what we are referring to as the discovery settings. So when we talk about discovery settings, under discovery settings, we can add devices to the add-ons. We can add devices based on traps. We can have a notification for the discovery process. We can have the DNS as the display name. So these helps us make the discovery much easier, which will have a predefined configuration for my discovery, which is going to happen, and then we will be able to add them and monitor them with the predefined conditions, which helps us save lots of time and effort and resources when we are deploying the op manager and start monitoring the infrastructure organization or the devices which are there in your environment. Now let's go back to the presentation and continue. Moving on to the next question. Where can I see the newly added feature? So in Op Manager, on your top right hand side, you'll see a gift box icon with an exclamatory mark. So this is the place where you would be able to see the brand new features after every upgrade. For example, let me show you in the Op Manager directly on how it will work. So as soon as I click on this option, the new features which are there in this version will be highlighted with the word new. And as you can click on them and view the brand new feature which has been added to the Op Manager as soon as you install them or you perform an upgrade if you're an existing customer. Now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And now we are coming to an end of this Op Manager training on part 1, and where we have covered about the discovery options which are available. And now if you're interested in seeing what are the capabilities of the Op Manager in monitoring the performances, various metrics which are available such as CPU, memory, disk, service monitors, what are the other things which the product can monitor in terms of device after the discovery, don't miss attending the part 2, which is conducted on 13th April 2021, which is on network monitoring in Op Manager, where we would be covering about the device availability, server and network performance metrics, WLC and IPSLA monitor, script-based monitoring, and various other metrics and other options and other things which you can monitor using Op Manager. So don't miss attending part 2, which is coming on 13th of this month. And if you want to get certified as an Op Manager Pro, it's pretty simple. Just register yourself in the link which is given in the presentation slide, go through a short training, attend an examination, and you'll be a certified Op Manager Pro, which helps you use the product to the fullest and which makes things much easier to monitor your environment using Op Manager. And we would be uploading all our how to do videos and technical videos in our YouTube channel. And we also have our official help documentation. You can visit help.opmanager and get more information about them. And we will be having our technical discussion in our forum post with our customers, resellers, and partners. And you can also get in touch with our team by dropping an email directly to opmanager-support@manageengine.com, or you can dial in directly and reach us. I thank one and all for attending this webinar. Thank you.